Me and my sister are not as close as we used to be due to some messed up stuff that happened years ago. I had my son Jesse when I was really young. Months after that, to my surprise, my ex was pregnant again. We found out it was my sister's fiance, ex now, that she was seeing behind our backs. It hurt. It was the worst pain ever, but for my son's sake, I tried to get past it. I come from a family of half-siblings too, so I wanted my son to be close to his half-brother, Keith. Not only were my ex and my sister's ex horrible lying cheaters, but also terrible parents. Both of them got hooked on drugs, and it only escalated from there. When Keith was only 3, he was locked up. This particular issue with my sister happened a couple years ago. My ex got sick and she was scared of Keith ending up in foster care like her, and I didn't want that for him either. I legally adopted him before she passed when he was 6. Not everyone in my family was on board with it at first, but he's the kind of kid that's hard not to love, so they warmed up to him. However, my sister never did. She hated that I brought the son of her ex-fiancé into the family. I understood why it was so painful, but Keith's and Jesse's best interest was my main priority. That's how we drifted apart. Last weekend was my birthday and we had a small barbecue at my place. My parents have tried hard to mend things between us, so they convinced me to let her come so we could chat. I thought it meant that she was cool with Keith because obviously the 3 of us are a package deal. When I asked my parents how she would feel about Keith, they said not to worry about it. Again, I took it as she came around. Only she wasn't told that he would also be present. But how could he not be? He lives there. My sister got there and she was mad when she saw him. She very specifically said, "I thought this was family only. What's he doing here?" Loud enough where he could have easily heard, but thankfully he was playing with his brother. My sister was pissed because my parents told her that Keith would not be around. I got pissed when she told me she didn't want him here, expecting me to do something about it. So I ended up telling her to leave and that she's not welcome here then. There was some back and forth from her and my parents. I didn't want that kind of talk around my son, so I still made her leave. My mom seems to think that I'm a huge a-hole for kicking her out of my party instead of trying to work things out. They wanted to take Keith somewhere out of sight while me and her talked. But to me, what's the point of us working it out if that's how she feels towards my son? This has now caused conflict since I escalated the feud by making her leave instead of actually talking to her. Am I wrong for kicking my sister out and not resolving things? I met a guy on Tinder a few weeks ago and we seemed to really hit it off. We had a lot of the same hobbies and I felt the spark between us and I'm sure he felt too. After we got past the talking phase, we decided to meet at his house for coffee. It was great when I arrived. We talked loads and even held hands. However, I was on the 3rd day of my period and after a couple of hours, I needed to change my pad. I asked for the bathroom and he directs me to it. After I finish changing, I notice his trash can is pretty full. Not sure what to do, I wrap it in toilet paper and sort of smooth it into the trash can so it isn't sitting on the edge. We hang out for about an hour more and he excuses himself to the bathroom. A few minutes pass by and he comes out and says that he needs to talk to me. Then he says I shouldn't have thrown away my pad because he might touch it when he's taking out the trash and that it was gross and unsanitary. Apparently, he saw that the trash looked different, unwrapped the toilet paper, and saw my used pad. I was mortified. I apologized profusely and he seemed to take it well. He told me not to do it again and if I needed to, just to walk a few blocks to the nearby grocery store to change. I left after that, not to think too much of it. However, I recounted the events to a few friends and they think he's a major a-hole. He was really kind about it and didn't seem to get angry, but I'm also starting to see their point too. Was I wrong to change my pad in his house? My boyfriend and I met 6 years ago when I was sad and eating alone at the bar of a restaurant. It was really love at first sight, but the connection was even stronger after we sat down and started talking. We discovered that not only do we have a ton of great things in common, but we also shared the pain of going through separate divorces during this time. We were both now separated from our spouses, single parents, and going through messy divorces. We exchanged information, but I decided that we both had too much going on, so I never reached out to him and he never contacted me. Over the next year, he crossed my mind, so after my divorce was final, I decided to send him a text. We chatted about being out of our marriages and decided to meet up for dinner. We met and the connection was still there. Things moved pretty fast and within 6 months we were living together. We both co-parent, so our children are with us at different times during the month. He always seemed to battle with their mother over visitation, but I stayed out of it. I've grown fond of his children as he has of mine. We've been happily living together as a blended family for about 5 years. Whenever I mentioned marriage, he always said that his last relationship soured his feelings on it. He's often reassured me that we didn't need marriage to be a family. We have recently began talking about purchasing a waterfront home as a family property for our kids and possibly retiring there. He's been a great partner and is always planning our future, so my talk about marriage quickly faded. Last month, he planned to surprise me by throwing me a party with close friends and family. Due to state restrictions, he could only invite a certain number of people. An angry family member of his that wasn't invited decided to be messy and spread rumors that it was an engagement party. The following day, I get a text from an unknown number. When I asked who was sending the text, the response was his wife. I confronted my boyfriend and he admitted that he never divorced. She wouldn't give him the divorce and threatened to move away with their children if he went through with it. She also wanted to pursue counseling and wanted him to move back home to give the marriage another try. He complied with not filing for divorce but refused to consider the other demands. It was around this time that he reconnected with me and decided to just move on with his life. Since her text, I've learned that she frequently posts on his social media about their marriage. She'll use old pictures and some current innocent pictures of them together at events for their kids. The captions on the pictures often refer to them as if they were still together. He confronted her about it and she said that he'll be back to her and kept referring to our relationship as an affair. Now that I've found out, he's promised to no longer be fearful of her threats and plan to pursue the divorce in custody. However, I'm not sure what I should do in this situation. I'd be so sad without him and his children in my life. Should I walk away or should I give him time to fix it? My ex and I met when we were both 10. She was and still is my twin sister's best friend, so we've always been kind of a trio growing up. We started dating at 14 and got married at 23. Things got ugly though, because 5 years after getting married, she told me that she had a month-long affair with her coworker. Apparently, the guilt was too much for her, so she confessed. We tried to work through it, but after a few months of trying, I knew that despite the fact that I loved her, I couldn't trust her anymore. She told me that she still loved me and that she'd wait for me and prove that I was the only one. I wanted to believe her, but some things just can't be fixed. We never had kids. 3 years after the divorce, I met my now wife and we got married 2 years after dating. She's everything I could ever dream of in a wife and more. My ex, as my sister told me since they're still besties, never really recovered. She quit her job and is now working at a church. Throughout my relationship with my wife, she kept trying to get back together, and on the day of my wedding, she told me that she still loved me and would love no one else. She said this was the last time that she would bother me, but that she'll wait for however long it took. Apparently, she's honest in that regard because my sister said that she's never been with anyone else. So here's what happened recently. My wife and I are married for 7 years now, have 2 kids. My sister came over with her own kids so the cousins could play. When my wife went to pick out lunch, my sister sat me down and told me the situation about my ex. Apparently, she only has less than 6 months to live. She refused treatment and wants to live the last few months to the fullest. I guess that's why her and my sister really went out of their way to travel despite the pandemic. One thing on her bucket list, though, was that she wanted to feel like my wife again. No sex, no kissing, she just wanted me to be around the house again and maybe hold her from time to time. She still lives in the house that we lived in. I told her that I wouldn't do that because it was pretty much emotional cheating. My sister kept arguing and begging me to at least see her and hear her out. We kept arguing until my wife came back. My sister told her the whole story, and while she looked upset, she said that she understood where my ex was coming from. When my sister left, my wife and I talked about it. My wife knows everything that happened in the past with my ex. She says while she isn't thrilled about the idea, she won't get upset if I decide to go see her on a regular basis. My wife is literally the best thing that ever happened to me, and I love her more than anyone. She makes me happier than I've ever been in my life, even in the good times with my ex. She knows I won't cheat. I also have zero romantic feelings for my ex, so there's nothing lingering there. I don't hate her or anything, it's just the love that I had for her has long since died. After thinking about it for a while, I'm honestly 50-50 on it. I know I don't owe her anything, but I feel like I might regret not seeing her at least one more time since the last time I saw her was on my wedding day, and that wasn't a good encounter for either of us. I honestly feel like, despite what she did, she still deserves to go with some peace. On the other hand, I'm not entirely sure if this might potentially affect our marriage. My wife says she's okay with it, and I believe her, but I just can't be sure that she'll feel the same way after it happens. I don't want anything to jeopardize what I have right now, no matter what. I'm not too thrilled about going myself, to be honest. What should I do? Part 2. My ex wants me to be with her in her last days. I talked to my wife and had a long discussion about the whole situation. I assured her that no matter what, she is and always will be my first priority. I also reassured her that while I wanted to say my goodbye, I would never act like her partner. It would be more like me seeing a childhood friend or something like that. I also said I would never spend the night, nor would I be alone with her. She was more comfortable after our talk and was pretty okay with the idea of me seeing my ex again. Originally, she really felt like she was being forced into being okay with it when my sister asked, but this time, she was really okay. I talked to my sister, and after a long heated discussion, she agreed to the boundaries my wife and I set. A week later, my sister and I came over to our old marital home. It was surreal because while the emotions from years before came back to me, I didn't feel any sadness, hatred, or anything negative. I saw my ex, who was waiting for us in the living room, and she cried when I walked in. You could tell almost immediately that something was wrong with her. I indulged her with a hug and we talked for a few hours while my sister made lunch. I showed her pictures of my kids and told her stories about what they're like. Honestly, I didn't know how I would react after I saw her again, but it just feels like seeing an old friend you haven't seen in a long time. There was no hate or anything like that. I walked around the house and it was pretty much the way it was when I left over a decade ago. I'm not really sure how I feel about our wedding photos still framed in pictures of us all over the house, but it really wasn't my place to say anything. The 3 of us had lunch and played board games all afternoon. It honestly felt like we were back to when we were kids and the 3 of us would hang out together. It was nice. I left around 6. She was sad, but she understood. When I hugged her goodbye, she whispered I love you to me, but then said how she's happy I was able to find the happiness she couldn't give me. That part got to me, and to be honest, I was fighting back tears. I told her that I'd see her again soon, and she asked if I could bring my kids next time. I told her I would and left to pick up dinner for my family. I told my wife everything that happened, and she was quite happy about the outcome. I guess it helped that I brought home her favorite food, but she also agreed to let me bring the kids next time. Overall, it was a great experience seeing her again. I feel like I needed that, and I would have regretted not doing so. She made a mistake and paid the price, but it doesn't mean that she's an evil person. I moved into my flat a couple years ago. My mom lives about 10 minutes away walking distance. At the time, I lived alone, so I gave her my second key. That way, if I ever lost my key, I could just go to her place and grab it, or if there was ever an emergency, then she could help me. My partner of 3 years moved in with me about a year ago. I asked my mom for her key so I could give it to him, but she kept forgetting it, so I just made a copy of mine. My mom has kept her key, and though she swears she doesn't use it, I'll get home occasionally to find something is different, and my mom admits to causing it. My partner and I also have a baby, a 6-month-old. I'm currently able to be at home with him, but sometimes when I need to go out, my mom comes over to babysit. It was my birthday a few days ago, and my mom decided to let herself in. She planned to enter our bedroom and wake me up with a surprise, her presence in my flat and a card. Unfortunately, she got the surprise, catching me and my partner while we were busy. My mom left the room and let's just say it ruined the mood, and her joking after to break the tension did not work as she hoped. Obviously, everyone is embarrassed about this, and on the basis of not wanting it to happen again, I asked her for her key back. I told her the next time she wanted to come over just to call or text me and I would let her in. She refused to give the key back, called me short-sighted, selfish, and ungrateful. She also said I'm prioritizing my relationship with my partner over my relationship with her. I said she's acting like a jealous ex and it's creepy. She needs to calm down and leave the key. She then took the key and stormed out, so I asked my partner to change main lock. My mom tried to get in yesterday to talk to me and make up after our argument, but when her key key wouldn't work, she called me and asked for shutting her out and not having a conversation with her. She said that me changing the lock made her feel like I didn't trust her. Am I wrong for changing the locks?
I need to know. You're exciting, boy, come find me. Your eyes told me, girl, come right me.
I am the product of my mom having an affair. Fortunately, my dad decided to forgive my mom and keep me, and I had a pretty good upbringing. However, I don't really look a lot like the rest of my family. Growing up, I always asked why I had certain traits that my other family members didn't have. When I was 17, my mom took me out for ice cream and introduced me to my biological father. She said she felt like I was old enough to know the truth and explain her affair. She also A, made me promise I wouldn't tell my older sister, who's 27 now, and B, hammered home along with my bio father that he'd never be part of my life and didn't want me. It was a lot, I won't lie, but I learned to suck it up and move on with my life. Fast forward to the present. My big sis has always gravitated towards older men. We like to joke that it's a result of too many George Clooney movies growing up, and 2 months ago she shared a picture of herself with her new boyfriend. I was shocked because it turned out to be my bio father. I debated what to do for a couple days, then ultimately decided she needed the truth and told her. My sister did not take it well and dumped him, but she wasn't angry with me. Honestly, by now she's kind of amused, saying that since she banged my dad, she's my mom and has extra power to boss me around now. My mom, on the other hand, is furious. She says I divulged something that wasn't my secret to share and that I had no business in telling anyone. That since my bio dad isn't related to my sister, it didn't matter if he dated my sister, and it wasn't like they were talking marriage anyway. It's been 2 months and she's still angry, still snide, calls me a traitor, and finds excuses to make loud comments about how I can't be trusted with anything private or important, so beware. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing, but I've never seen my mom this angry before, and she sustained her anger for a solid 2 months, so I'm starting to worry. Was I wrong for telling my sister the truth? My girlfriend and I have been dating for a year and we live together. She uses a flip phone for reasons that are too long to get into, so she'll occasionally use my phone when she needs to check her email or download music. I trashed my brain as a teenager. I have issues with memory, short and long. Today I woke up and was chilling for a bit while my girlfriend was at work. Suddenly I thought, oh shit, what's my girlfriend's birthday? I knew the month, but I couldn't remember if it was the 8th or the 9th. That's okay, I thought. I'll just go dig around a bit. Surely there's some paperwork around the house that has her birthday on it. Spoiler, there wasn't. I'm definitely not asking her friends or family, as they'll surely tell her that I forgot. So I do what any reasonable person does, and I Google background check services. I enter her name and city, and for $7.99, I receive an email with every traffic ticket, address, phone number she's ever had. Most importantly though, her birthday. I write her birthday down in a safe spot and then go back to chilling. All is well. I'm not a piece of shit partner. What a relief. She gets home. Our day is going well when she asks to use my phone to read her email. I completely obliviously give it to her. She opens it and immediately sees a full background check on herself. I knew exactly what happened once her face changed. She immediately asked why I was background checking her a year into our relationship and then started getting emotional, asking if I didn't trust her. This is the first relationship I don't have trust issues in, so I immediately confessed that I'm a dumbass and I forgot her birthday and I paid $7.99 to get it because her family and friends would snitch on me. Luckily, it isn't the first time I've come off as a total moron to her, so she believed me, but she is also upset that I forgot her birthday. Next time something like this happens, I'm just admitting guilt, I think. I'm also sitting here and just realized I could have waited till she was asleep and checked her license.